Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for another session of the Epizones weekly overview and forecast and review, all that good stuff. We're going to be looking at the markets, looking at what we can expect in the next week, as well as seeing how price has really responded to the Epizones in the past and what we can really take from that. So let's get started. As we look to the ES, which I really do like the ES, I feel like that is the plum market, or the plum line market, if you will. And I feel like some really cool things have been happening on the ES for me, because as you have looked over the past week's videos, you will have seen me refer to this chart quite a bit here. These are the weekly levels, the monthly and weekly levels on the S&P 500 or the ES futures contract. We're going to mostly be looking at futures, maybe a couple ETFs just to give us an overall idea of what's going on here. But mostly a lot of future contracts and more of a day trader type of perspective. Okay, but on our big time frame, looking at the big S&P 500, what I feel is happening right here is actually a nice move from the low of 2009, which we had a nice little demand zone down there from all the way back in, well, it's very old. I believe it goes back to like 1996. Was the low there. We have our first leg up, and if we take that leg and expand it up in the same size, we get a level right around 1746, 1750. I think that is a realistic expectation there. And look at where we are. So it's really cool to see how this thing has actually popped up to right around the level that I'm looking at it to be. I think anything could happen here. I wouldn't be surprised for another little push. But we're really looking at something really cool. So we've made the move, and I want to make sure that we see the symmetry in the market there. Okay, so knowing that that has happened on that chart, looking down at like a 4-hour time frame, you can kind of see some very interesting things going on here. Alright, so we can see how we've been coming on up, stair-stepping our way up. And the other thing that you'll notice is how the Epizone software identifies the consolidation of the price label or price levels as it bounces and the market gyrates on its way up. Okay, so you can see consolidation, expansion, consolidation, expansion. We're creating new levels here as price is going higher and higher and higher. So again, we're looking at like 1750 for the ES, and let's just see what happens there. Okay, you'll also notice that this zone down here is blue, which means we bounced on that before, and most of our supply levels, or levels in red here on the right hand side of our chart, are all are pretty much all gone, except for the level that we just created here on the 4-hour. Okay, and it's because we're still in that big move. So we're seeing the movement and the shift of supply and demand. You know, I'm sure many of you probably remember the little shift of the supply and the demand curve as we're looking at supply and demand. So we're actually seeing a new shift of supply and demand as it goes along our X and our Y axis here. So we're looking at the big shift moving there. So I think that's what's happening in our markets in general. Again, the ES is the plumb line for the U.S. indexes and the U.S. stock market. So we will see how that continues to work out here. Moving our focus over to the CL market, here is well, my favorite market, and you can kind of see that we've been in the downtrend. Okay, and if we look at the active zones on our chart, we can see this big supply level at 109 all the way up to 111, and we see our next demand level all the way down here at 101. So just like several weeks ago, we were looking at the move from 100 up to like 110. Now we're looking at a move down from like 110 down to 100. So we will see if this continues to pull out for us. But along the way, we're seeing the shift of supply and demand as it's going along. But we're expecting something to happen here. Okay. But notice that this zone is a nice deep purple color, okay, whereas we have a whole bunch of different colors on the zones, but purple means that price has been there several times in the past, and this zone is actually fairly old, as it was created on 7/8 of 2013 at roughly 9 a.m. in the morning. So we are looking for a larger movement as we're coming down to this demand zone down here. Okay, now what's going to happen when price gets down there? I do not know. We are going to look for price action to confirm the move, is what I'm going to be looking for. By all rightful ideas of supply and demand, this level can get busted through and we can go even lower. Okay, so we will see if that works, and if we go lower, we're looking at 100 to 99.27 is our next demand level below that. So we'll see how this plays out over the next week here, but that's what we're looking for. And really, APAZones, it was created to identify the consolidation of price at certain key levels, and to record all that price action so that as the big institutions push this thing down or up, we know why they're doing it, and we can see a logical reason for the price action of the market in a very realistic and dynamic way, as these levels are all dynamically created. Unfortunately, the software tells us how big that consolidation area is up there, or how small it is right here. Like it's all the software calculating out those areas for us. So we will continue to look for the move to the downside on CL, but the markets can do anything, and we need to prepare accordingly. But it does look like a nice shift of supply down to demand. So let's move on. Moving over to the gold market, or the gold futures market, we can see what these levels look like as well. Alright, so you can see that we put in a nice demand level here. Looks like we have our first money bounce going on this level as well. So if that is a money bounce, then price comes back up here to this area of consolidation, and let's see if we don't get another drop down here, as price has already done its money bounce for us here. It looks like we've kind of been in a downtrend. Obviously we had a very big bullish bar here, but I'm kind of thinking that this thing may drop actually a little bit lower. Just looking at some of the strength and weakness of the levels up and down our price ladder, I think that this purple zone is pretty weak because it's been bounced on several times. So I would say let's go find out really what's down there. Do we have any buyers still willing to purchase down there or not? So that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as the levels on the gold market, and let's move on. Moving over to the NQ, or the Nasdaq futures market, we can see these different levels here, and you can see how we've been recording the consolidation of price action as it's been happening. Um, Obviously, we've had several bounces on this purple zone, and very nice strong reaction out of it on one of the mini bounces that can happen at a zone level. Okay, so we need to look at these levels as filters. Now, looking kind of more at a channel type of deal, and looking for a possible channel trade, if you will. I don't really see anything to the upside that I particularly care for out of the most recent lows or highs, but I feel like there may be something right around here to the downside. So if this is a nice little trend bounce that we just had here recently, then I would want to take this line right here and paste it down here to this low. Okay, so you see how that works? Now we have a channel to the downside that may be very, very interesting here. So that was our money bounce on that zone. That really created the channel line for us, the top of the channel. And we've had our first money bounce off of the channel, if you will, or off of that trend line to the downside. Now, what I've taken from this is considering that this was a really good bounce, looking at how low that went to, I just decided to put the symmetry trend line to that low to look for possible lows of maybe price action retesting this area and bouncing off of the trend line before it comes back up. Okay. Now, something weird that happens as you look at these areas here over time is you can actually match a lot of these zone bounces and stuff with fibs very, very nicely. Okay, so if we do some fib work, we can see that that was an 88% retracement into the zone that created the money bounce there. Alright, but we can also see that we have like a 127 extension right there inside the zone. So let's shift everything down so that our fibs and our zones match up nicely together. Now, one thing after drawing these levels for quite some time, you actually get to kind of feel out the levels, just because support and resistance and fibs, they work really, really well together. So maybe you'll come down here to 127 and right back up there to where our 23 retracement is. And if that does happen, that's actually closer to a 50% retracement right there, and then we would continue on our pattern to the south side. Okay, so let's see if that works. But I could see a nice channel to the downside possibly happening here on the NQ market, which I feel leads the ES a little bit, to be really honest with you. I feel like it's a leading market, and to turn off our fib piece, all we do is turn off the show fibs in the Apizones indicator panel. That's kind of a heads up way that we can do everything, and there you go, it's away now, and we can take our analysis to our next market. And that next market is TLT, or the bonds ETF. So looking at the bonds in general, I would say that we have some very nice bouncing off of this bottom zone here, that we actually had a nice confluence. This is actually, I believe, like a daily zone that we've superimposed on our 4-hour chart. We could actually also put that on as far as the Apizones MTF tool. But looking at it from the analysis standpoint, you can see how we really bottomed out here, failed to break a new low, which is why this zone exists here, and we've come back up with great force. Okay, so we are looking at pushing higher on the bonds, which if the bonds and the indexes stay in their inverse correlation, that means the market should be moving down as the bonds are moving up. So that is what we are looking at on the bond market, and it was a very nice money bounce into this zone. Obviously it happened a little bit later. Let me go ahead and delete that. Obviously it didn't happen right away. There was a daily zone there, but the bounce on the 4-hour time frame didn't happen until the very end, where so many people may have gotten sucked into to do an entry off the daily zone earlier. We're looking at the 4-hour chart to be a smaller time frame, and that real good money bounce didn't happen until a very big explosion out of it, and you basically kissed it goodbye as it's now rallying up and up to the upside. So that is what we're looking at on bonds, which it looks like the inverse relationship is there as far as the TLT and the NQ goes, but I'm not sure that I would really say that it's there as far as ES is concerned. This is a pretty good size rally off of our 4-hour chart, whereas this I don't feel is quite as strong to the downside on ES, but that is okay. It is seeming to do some interesting things there. So we will continue to watch this and to see how it all plays out. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you guys have particular markets that you would like to watch or comments, please go ahead and post those in the YouTube page. Go ahead and follow us and just post them in the comments area, and we'll make sure that this type of overview is hopefully the best that it can be. So thank you so much, and may the trend be with you.